talks about the house of wise and fishing. We cover everything, big game, ultralight, everything in the middle, including fly fishing, which I just came from actually, and didn't catch anything. Been a while. Today we're talking about flash. Okay, I have received a lot of questions about flash, when to use them, why, when I make assist hooks. For majority of the jigs that I show, there's no flash, and then for some there's flash. So big question and a very big topic actually. So before that, let me show you what flash is. Okay, so there are two types of flash that you are going to encounter. There's a lot more, but these are the two that you actually see the most. Okay, so this is flashable. Okay, it's straight material and holographic. They come in different colors. I have chartreuse, I have pink, this is pearl. They come in different thicknesses and also different colors. All right, now this is crystal flash. As you can see, it's almost the same thing, but this is a bit more reflective, and this is actually twisted. It also comes in different colors, different softness levels. There's stiff ones, there's very soft ones, there's something in the middle, different colors. You could imagine the colors, they have it. All right, also different sizes. So it's the same thing with flashable, only with crystal flash you're dealing with twisted material. All right, now these materials also come in different let's say packages. Okay, so you can see that this one's a small bundle, this one's quite a big bundle. All right, different lengths, of course, because each of them have kind of different purposes. Some like take for example crystal flash, which is fairly common here, you'll see them in smaller packs because they're used for sabiki. However, if you're a bit more resourceful, you could go around and see bunches like these. So this I've seen and bought in a kind of a craft shop. So you can see there, okay, it says DLB Crafts. And this particular one is, believe it or not, probably 10 times cheaper than the packet there. The problem is, of course, it's packed like this because this is how it came, and it's not organized at all. So when you pull this out, it's wiry. Okay, so if you're using very small lengths, you could do that. It's a good way to save money, but you can't use long lengths because they'll be like warped. Now, it's the same thing with flashable. This is flashable. It is exactly the same as the one right here. In fact, if you compare it, you'll see that even the cut is the same. Okay, the width. The problem of this, of course, is the same thing with the other one. All right, so if you're using smaller lengths and you don't mind the folds, that's fine. And actually, these, if you carefully take them out of this, these are like really, really long. So there is an advantage to this. Of course, this is very, very cheap. And I got this from Daiso, actually. Right? They use this as a filling material for decorations, like for example vases and stuff like that. Now, one word of caution though, not all that look like Flashaboo or not all that look like Crystal Flash are Crystal Flash or Flashaboo. My advice when you're doing or you want this sort of thing, have to buy the original first. Okay? Go to a fly shop or a fishing shop, get a pack or two of Crystal Flash and Flashaboo. I mean, they're not awfully expensive. It's just that when you're actually using a lot of them, it gets expensive. It stacks up. But if you're using small quantities here and there, they're not that expensive. All right. Also, once you get used to the material and you know how it feels, how it looks like and stuff like that, that's the time when you could actually play around it, go to a bookshop and see if, or a craft shop and see if they have something there that's similar or exactly the same as what you could use for fishing. Because sometimes also the strands are too thick and it's kind of useless, because you don't want the strands to be too thick. All right. Okay, now that we have that, I'm going to show you 3 ways I attach Flashaboo to a hook. Okay, and we're going to do this with hooks that have eyes and also hooks that don't have eyes, spade heads. Okay, so let's use these. These are from Hot. It's called an Otoko hook. It doesn't have to be this. It's just an example, but just in case you're asking, because a lot of people are actually a sucker for details when it comes to these things. All right, so you can see there's an eye there. So how you put flash on these. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this, okay? And firstly, let's talk about why you use flash. The very obvious answer would be for extra attraction. All right, and in fairness, yes, to a certain extent, yes, it works, and it does. All right. However, if you're using this in deeper water, okay, now light penetrates up to about 200 feet. That's 60 meters. Over 60 meters, only blue light penetrates. Up to about 100 meters, and then that's that. It's black. Okay? Light hardly penetrates below 100 meters. The name is flash. Flash. Okay? So, if you're using material that doesn't glow in the dark, using flash in deeper water is actually kind of useless. Unless, again, if it's glow in the dark. Now, flash actually does something, because adding flash or any type of material, aside from the hook, your bindings, and your cord, and your solid ring, what happens is that it creates drag. And when it creates drag, it has this parachuting effect. Okay? Now, the parachuting effect can make or break your hooking of the fish. Because, trust me, at that depth, the flash acting like a parachute would help you miss fish. Simple as that. Because when you're moving your jig, okay, let's just say you have a slow jig, and you put too much flash, or there's flash, okay? So the hooks move a bit slower than the jig. So when the fish grabs the jig and the hook isn't there because it's still falling or it's still moving, you missed the opportunity to get a bite. This is why for slow jigs in deeper water, you don't really find flash because of that particular reason. For fast jigging, it's kind of different because you're always in motion, and the hook, of course, follows the jig. Okay? When you're jigging and zigzags or whatever, when you jig, sliding jigs actually goes sideways. Okay, and again, if there's something there, it doesn't follow. Strider wants attention. It doesn't follow the jig and then you miss it. Okay? In shallower water, it is a different story because in shallow water, the fish actually can see the flash and will home into that. The drawback, of course, is that you will end up with quite a lot of smaller fish getting attracted to the flash rather than the big ones because the big ones want a bigger meal. Okay? However, if chosen carefully, like take for example, you're using a UV material, what it does is create a hotspot for fish to home into. Again, this is in shallower water. So, enough of that. Let's go ahead and show you how to put flash. So, this is for wa'el, right? So, we will put some flash on this. Now, you don't need much. See this right there? Okay? That is a lot already. Okay? Because when you cut this, and it's just good practice. Now, for you fly tyers out there, just in case, if there are fly tyers out there and you saw what I did and cringed, okay? I don't do that. Alright? I don't do that. There's some that are actually short, so let's take those off. We just want the same length ones. There's still more. There we go. A bit more. Done. Alright, so and then I'll fold this again, and what I want to do is actually make them as equal as possible. I don't cut my flash like that. Wa'el cut it like that, so it's a mess. Alright, so now I have that. Okay, what we'll do is actually equalize both ends just so it's equal. Okay, and when you're cutting this, it'll fly all over the place. Now, I'm gonna zoom you in just so you'd see exactly what we're doing here. Okay, now what I do is, okay, this is one way, it's not the only way. Okay, now it's easier if you actually wet the okay, it doesn't have to be like that. You can actually have a glass of water or something and then just dip your fingers and all that. This is faster. Alright, now what I do is actually insert, okay, like so, and then fold it. You cut it according to length, of course, so this is just an example. Okay, so fold it so that it's distributed like so, and then tie your line. Okay, loose wraps. Okay, loose wraps, just loose wraps for now. Okay, loose wraps because okay, put a few wraps, and it doesn't have to be tight, just a few loose wraps, okay, like so. Then cut the tag. Okay, and check to see the length. Okay, that's relatively okay. Now, that's when you actually torque things down. Wow, I think I set this too tight. There we go. Now, the good thing about this is when you do this, okay, and you can see that the flash is distributed evenly all across the hook. Okay, so it's distributed, and then you make a few wraps going back like so. Remember, that should be tight right there, and you'll see that the flash is actually just around the hook, and it's distributed. And from there, you can take your cord and then make your knot, and you end up with something like this. Okay, so that is one method for wraps. It should be okay. And super glue helps pull things together. Okay, so from here, okay, like so. From that, let's make this a bit spiffy. Depending on how long you want it. So from there, okay, again, don't leave your thread there, just take it to the back like so, okay, and then you have your knot like that, okay, and then you can tie the end. Once it's cinched down, you can just tie this end right there, okay, tie this up, and it's done. Okay, so that's kind of like the usual way of doing things. So again, this is not the only way, obviously, to do things, and there are a lot of ways to put the flash on. Now, when you're doing this on spade heads, actually quite similar. Okay, it's just that with spade heads you have to put the cord first before you put the flash, and you can get away with something like this, but because of the spade, it's very difficult to actually secure it. So it's much better to put the flash after you put the cord on the hook. Alright, so I'm gonna do a spade head so that you guys can see. There's pretty much one kind of standard way to do it. So this is marine blue. Alright, now you could either use the locking knot method, or you can use this. Now let me use these glasses for safety. There we go. So we'll use the tried and true hook through the cord method. And we'll try to make it as clean as possible. Alright, so basically what I'm doing is putting the cord through. Okay, there we go. Alright, so once that's in, remember our placement should be like so. Alright, now put it on the vise. Okay, now what we'll do is have to bind this sucker well, otherwise not gonna work. We want this as clean as possible. Okay, now when you're doing this, you have to make things as tight as possible. Okay, now you don't have to finish that yet. Okay, so normally we would be wrapping this and making it tidy right about now, but what we will do is just bind this so that we know that this whole thing is already held. Okay, at this point you can put your super glue or whatnot. Alright, so now we take the flash, and we'll use crystal flash just so, I mean, it's already here. Okay, got a bunch here. By the way, you don't need much. Okay, remember that, always remember that there is such a thing as too much flash, and it scares the hell out of fish. So remember that. Okay, now let us do this. Alright, so you have your crystal flash. Okay, and that's a good length. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna fold this in half. Okay, fold it in half and then tie that at the very back right there. Okay, you see that? Okay, and then just tie that like so, and then start to bind it. Now, as you can see, what I've done here was to kind of continue with the taper so that it looks clean, and all I have to do then is wind and tighten, and as you can see, it blends in. Now all we have to do is finish the rest of the wrap. Super glue, of course. I'm not doing that now. It will be a waste because I don't want this permanent. Okay. For the smaller ones, it's exactly the same method, and this is basically, majority of the time, it's the smaller stuff that actually has the flash. Now, of course, if you're fishing in, let's say, 60 meters or less, even if you're in the ocean and the fish are holding at about 50, 40 meters, go ahead and use flash because that'll help, all right? But any deeper than 60, 80 meters, I would say I would probably use flash up to about 100 meters if it's a really, really clear day, you know, and the water's really, really clear. I'd probably use up to 100 meters or even more, just as long as it's clear. So like, take for example, I'm well offshore, sun's up quite high. I'd probably use the ones that's with flash. But if I'm fishing near the bottom, anywhere near the bottom, and I know that, like, let's say I'm fishing in 150 meters, 170, 200 meters, I'm gonna use hooks without flash. All right. So anyway, again, if you have questions, leave it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer always. Okay. If you haven't yet, give this video a like, especially if you learned something. Okay, give this video a like. And if you want to know more, if you want to learn more, subscribe. That's the best way I could put it. All right. Send this channel to your friends. Ask them if they want to learn more. Okay. If you're interested with slow jigging or stuff like this, if you want to learn more, subscribe to this channel. Alrighty. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.